welcome. In this session, we would focus on some of the important topics that were part of your 2024 examination, and we would be updating our content based on that. So few important things that we would discuss in this section relate to foreign higher educational institutions, the criteria for their establishment in India, ipsative assessment, hot and cold media, Swayam Prabha channels, the updated version, and we have already covered Swayam Prabha in the previous lecture. So here we would be just covering the updated information that has been part of the question paper, right? So talking about firstly the foreign higher educational institutions. Now government has given a nod to foreign higher educational institutions to establish their campus in India. Now when these institutions are getting established in India, there are certain criteria that must be fulfilled. The first criteria is they must secure the rank in top 500 in the global ranking. The second criteria is if this does not meet, then they should be within the top 500 in the subject wise category. So either within the global top 500 university or in each of the subject wise category, they should be among the top 500 universities. If that is the case, these institutions can get established, can have their campuses established in India. Now to do so, they would have to directly apply to UGC. They can actually create programs which provide certificate courses, diploma courses, degree courses, postgraduate courses, and then research and other programs for postdoctoral levels, right? So these are the courses that they can offer. Now there is also a point where it says that yes, two and more foreign institutions, foreign higher educational institutions can come together, collaborate and set up a campus in India, and that should meet the eligibility criteria individually. That means if two universities are collaborating and getting established in India, they should individually be under either of these categories. But they can also establish either one campus or more than one campus as needed. They would have to give a one-time annual fees for their application, and then 45 days period would be granted in which the notice for permitting the establishment would be granted, and then they are expected to set up the campus within 2 years of the permissions which have been granted. Now what about the faculty they would recruit? The faculties that they would recruit, the foreign higher education institutions would have the autonomy to select that faculty, to recruit that faculty as per their recruitment norms, but they would have to maintain the same level of qualification, the similar salary structure and other appointment conditions as they are doing in their own nation. So that is again a very, very important idea, that it should be at par with the nation in which they are already recruiting. The next is joint venture. Now joint venture is a venture between the foreign higher educational institution and any Indian university. Now in this case, the foreign higher educational institution should meet the criteria and the regulations which we had discussed before. Also, they must hold a majority share or a majority ownership when there is a joint venture. They can offer all the programs, degree, diploma, certificate, postgraduate, doctoral, postdoctoral courses, and then they should have their independent campus with physical, academic and research institutions. So this is something that is mandatory, that foreign higher educational institution should have a campus in India with their own identity, and then they can also look out for a joint venture with other Indian universities. So those are some of the important aspects. Now this has been recently given nod to. We had already discussed this in some of the discussions before, but yes, this time there were extensive questions on this topic, so cover that properly. The next is ipsative assessments. One very important thing that we have been discussing so far is formative and summative assessments. Now besides that, there is peer assessment, that is assessment within the peer group, and ipsative assessment, that means assessment within oneself. So we can say ipsative assessment is mainly a forced choice assessment. right? So for example, I go out to buy an article, right? Now when I'm buying that article, it is a forced choice that I have to definitely buy it. Now there are 5 brands that are there, I have to decide from those 5 brands, right? So it is a forced choice scale in some sense that we can say, and of the given options you have to accept one options among the socially desirable options. So ipsative, since it's from yourself, so this assessment is based on yourselves and your past, right? So in that case it has to be a socially desirable assessment. So unlike other assessment, this assessment actually compares a person with themselves, and they also try to answer the questions, unlike the normative assessment where the questions are with scaled responses. So here questions are not with the scaled responses. So that's again something that you must be very careful about. Now I take a simple example. If you say I am a hard worker or I am a goal getter, right? Now this ipsative test would force you to go for either one of the options. So it is a forced choice scale. You have to select one option. Both of them are socially desirable, but you have to say, okay, I am a hard worker or I am a goal getter. And that is where we understand the ipsative assessment evolution, and it also helps to identify any kind of deception and can also bring out high level of neuroticism in a patient or in a participant, we can say in this case. Now, what are the benefits and the drawbacks of ipsative assessment? The benefits simply is, since I am comparing it with myself, I am making a forward progress. I am understanding that these were my weaknesses and I am trying to grow on those weaknesses. So it's a progress in very basic aspect. Also, it is also helping me to determine a competency to do certain things or not to do certain things, to identify the best match or the best candidate, and those who are underperforming can always have a higher goal and then try to meet that goal. So it helps to improve your performance in some of the cases, and it can be useful for objective as well as subjective assessment. So when it is a forced choice scale, it's not always that you have options that would be given. It could be subjective in nature, where you are asked to explain about it, right? But it is a forced choice, so you have to select one of the aspects and explain about it. So those are some of the advantages. But one of the disadvantages, very obvious disadvantage of ipsative assessment is the validity. Now this decreases the validity of the test by discouraging the response and encouraging non-response. So sometimes if a person feels that I don't want to